Have you ever wondered if your decisions are truly yours? What if many of the choices you make every day, what you buy, who you trust, even what you believe, are secretly controlled by hidden psychological forces? Scientists in the field of psychology have discovered that the human brain relies on mental shortcuts that influence decisions without us even realizing it. And some of these effects are so powerful, they can completely change what you choose. Today, we're revealing 10 strange psychological facts that secretly control your decisions. Number 6 might make you question every choice you've ever made. 10. The anchoring effect. The first number or piece of information you see can control how you judge everything afterward. This phenomenon is called the anchoring effect. For example, if a store first shows you a jacket priced at $500 and then shows another one for $120, your brain suddenly thinks the second one is cheap. Even if $120 is still expensive, your brain uses the first number as a mental anchor to judge everything else. Marketers use this trick everywhere: sales, discounts, and even online pricing. So next time you see a 70% off tag, remember that anchor might have already influenced your decision. 9. The halo effect. Sometimes a single positive trait makes us believe someone is good at everything. This is called the halo effect. If someone looks attractive or confident, our brain automatically assumes they are smarter, kinder, and more trustworthy. This effect was first studied by psychologist Edward Thorndike in the early 1900s. And it still influences hiring decisions, elections, and even social media popularity today. In other words, your brain may judge a book by its cover even when you think it doesn't. 8. The scarcity effect. Why do we suddenly want something more when it becomes rare? Because our brain is wired to fear losing opportunities. This is called the scarcity effect. When you see messages like, "Only 2 left in stock," or "Limited time offer," your brain instantly increases the value of that item, even if you didn't want it before. Companies use this trick constantly to push people into buying faster. 7. The choice overload problem. You might think having more choices makes decisions easier, but the opposite is often true. This phenomenon is known as choice overload. In a famous experiment, shoppers were offered 6 types of jam or 24 types of jam. Surprisingly, the table with fewer options sold far more products. Too many choices can overwhelm the brain and make people avoid deciding at all. Sometimes, less choice actually means more decisions. 6. The confirmation bias. Humans naturally look for information that supports what they already believe. This is called confirmation bias. If you believe something strongly, your brain will automatically focus on evidence that proves you're right, while ignoring information that proves you wrong. This bias affects politics, news, and even everyday arguments. And the strange part is, most people think they are being perfectly logical. 5. The mere exposure effect. Have you ever started liking a song simply because you heard it many times? That's called the mere exposure effect. The more often your brain sees something, the more comfortable it becomes with it. This is why companies repeat advertisements constantly. Your brain slowly turns familiarity into trust, even when you don't realize it's happening. 4. Social proof. Humans are deeply influenced by what other people do. Psychologists call this social proof. If many people believe something is good, our brain assumes it must be true. This is why reviews, likes, and comments are so powerful online. In fact, one of the most famous experiments on social influence was conducted by psychologist Solomon Asch, who showed that people often follow the crowd even when the crowd is clearly wrong. Sometimes the fear of standing alone is stronger than the desire to be correct. 3. The framing effect, 7:10 to 8 o'clock. The way information is presented can completely change the decision you make. This is known as the framing effect. For example, if a doctor says a surgery has a 90% survival rate, most people feel confident. But if the same surgery is described as having a 10% death rate, people feel afraid, even though both statements mean exactly the same thing. Your brain reacts differently depending on how the information is framed. 2. Loss aversion. People fear losing something more than they enjoy gaining something. This is called loss aversion. Research by psychologist Daniel Kahneman showed that the pain of losing $100 is much stronger than the happiness of gaining $100. This bias influences investments, gambling, and everyday decisions. Our brains are designed to avoid loss, even when taking risks could lead to better outcomes. 1. The illusion of control. Perhaps the strangest psychological fact is that humans often believe they control things that are actually random. This is called the illusion of control. For example, gamblers often believe they can influence dice rolls or slot machines, even though the outcomes are completely based on chance. Our brains crave control, so sometimes we invent it. The truth is, our decisions are not always as independent as we think. Hidden psychological forces quietly guide our choices every day. But once you recognize these effects, you can start taking back control of your decisions. And that might be the most powerful psychological trick of all. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more mind-blowing facts about the human brain and reality. Because sometimes, the strangest mysteries are inside our own minds.